Low again, grade 12. We're now going to do something completely different. We have a text file in the same folder as your program called names and marks.txt. Each line has got a person's name and a mark. Person's name and a mark. There's lots of names and they have been repeated. There's about 3 tests here for each person. Now all these names and the marks in that text file match the names in this array called ARR names up here. All of these names, there's 15 names in here, and each one of those names appear in this text file. There's no exceptions. They're all, you'll find CO, you'll find each one of these names in this text file. You won't find any foreign names in this text file. What we're going to do is take each name from this array called ARR names, and we're going to go look into each of these strings here to find their name, and then take their mark, add it up as a total, and then find the average of their total marks for each person. But before we do that, we've got to read from this text file into an array called ARR names and marks, and we'll use a counter called iCountARR as well. So ARR names and marks and iCountARR we're going to use to read from this string. It's going to be strings in each box of ARR names and marks. So let's do that first. Read from the text file, and we'll need a text file variable. I'm going to call it T file now, just not to be confused with the other one. Here's one line, string. We're going to say if not file exists. Not spelling. Names and marks .txt. Begin and end. No file. And exit. Right, then we just do our sound file statement. Names and marks.txt, and reset to read from it, T file, then while not end of file, T file, to begin and end, read a line, read ln from T file into S1 line, and then we're going to put S1 line into, after we've implemented iCountARR, but we do need to set iCountARR to 0 before the loop, otherwise iCountARR will be a random number, even though it is a global variable. ARR names and marks, square brackets iCountARR equals S1 line. There you go, reading from a text file into a normal array. So we've done that. Now we've got to take that array ARR names and marks, and we've got to compare it with each name from ARR names. How shall we go about it? Let's start with ARR names. So we know ARR names goes from 1 to 15, not so? So we need another for loop. Well, we might need 2 for loops there. So let's go start with our for loop from 1 to 15 to go through ARR names. Okay. Now I'm going to use a string called sname, just to make it simpler for me. I'm going to say sname equals ARR names, square brackets k. Then I'll say if pos, but I mustn't forget to uppercase, just in case. If pos of sname in uppercase ARR names and marks, square brackets, what? Well, we have to use a for loop, don't we? For m equals 1, 2, R count ARR, begin and end. Why do we have to have another for loop? Well, because we're taking the first name and then we're going to go through the other array called AR names and marks. We want to go through each one of AR names and marks and find if it exists in that particular array, if that S name exists in the other array. So can you see I'm using basically a nested for loop here. So if the position of S name is not equal to naught, in other words it does actually exist, you pass of S name into this array called AR names and marks, square brackets m, or if you want to simplify it we can do the following. We make another variable called Sn, so it's better for you to understand. So if parse of S name in Sn is not equal to naught, see this, the m for loop for the m is going through AR names and marks, and the for loop for the k is going through AR names, and you know the k is 50, so we're taking each one at a time. Then what I'm going to do is we need an average, okay, and we need a total. So the best thing to do is to have another array and keep all our totals, or all our averages. I suppose we can put averages in there, but I actually don't want to do this. Do it a different way. We're going to use ARR total and ARR, and we make 15 of them, and ARR count, meaning the number of marks that there are exactly for each one. Now these are going to be all parallel to this array called ARR names. So for each person's name we're making another 2 arrays. For everyone's names we're going to make another 2 arrays, and we're keeping it local here. We don't really need it anywhere else, so we'll leave it here local. And we're going to basically consider it to be parallel to AR names. So for the person's name we're actually going to fill up a box in AR total and ARR count. So we have to get the mark from string. How are we going to get the mark? We're going to copy from 1 to the position of the comma minus 1, or we're actually going to delete from 1 to the position of the comma minus 1, and we'll end up with a mark. But we don't want to delete the actual name, so all we have to do is say delete. We've already stored Sn, we've already got that string, so we can delete from Sn. We don't want to delete from the actual array. Parse of the comma in Sn, and whatever's left is going to be our mark. So I'm going to make an integer here called iMark. Our iMark will be equal to string to int Sn, whatever's left of Sn after we've deleted. What will be left? The actual mark. So we're going to delete that. Just imagine this is the array with each box filled, and we're going to have that. But we're not deleting from the actual array. Why? Because we made a little variable there and made it equal to the actual array. We did uppercase. Yeah, maybe that wasn't a good idea, hey? We should actually uppercase and copy from arrow marks n, because we can't uppercase numbers. In arrow marks. Yeah. Actually no, we should actually just do the following. Let's just rather put AR marks uppercase. We're not going to do that. Nope. And in fact we won't use Sn over here. Sorry about that, guys. We'll use it, we'll use arrow marks, upper case, AR names and marks, square brackets M. Yeah, if it's not equal to naught, then we're going to say SN equals just arrow marks, square brackets M, should I say. So that should actually work. We've uppercased S name, we did uppercase the whole string. It's not going to affect the numbers, but it will definitely find the capital letters of a name. And if S name from the arrow names is contained in the box of the array called arrow names and marks, then we're going to go and get a string and make it equal to that array box number. Why? Because we want to delete from it to get the mark. So we got the mark, and then we go and add it to ARR totals, and we're going to use box number K here. Box number K will be equal to ARR totals box number K plus our mark, and we're also going to increment ARR count box number K. Now the problem here with these integer arrays here is that it is a local array of integers. Yeah, they're both local arrays. Therefore, every item in each of those boxes are going to be random numbers when we declare it here as an array. So we actually have to use a for loop to set each one to naught. We're setting them each to naught there so that we can do this, add the mark and increment the array of counters. Alright, so that's dealing with, if it works with the first box of the AR names, so if AR names is Joe, say, then we're looking for Joe in AR names and marks. If we find a match, then we go and set that AR names and marks to equal SN. We delete the name and the comma, and we go and get the mark and add it to our total and increment the counter. So at the end of the day, well, hopefully we will have two arrays, AR totals and AR count, which will be parallel to AR names. We're going through 15 boxes of AR names, okay? And then we can then go and calculate the average, because remember, for average you need a total and a counter. Okay, there's probably another way to do this, but we're doing it this way. Let's make sure that we are matching up our begins and ends. Where are we? Match up your begin and end, make sure that they're in the right places, and this is the end of the for loop. Now I'm going to display the averages of each person's mark in the rich edit. I must clear the rich edit because I don't want to have other stuff there. Then I'm going to go for K equals 1 to 15. We're going to calculate our average while we display it. And I will just use an R average, or a real number here, R average colon real. Remember, averages are always going to be real dollar types. We'll round up to 1 decimal place. So for each box, I'm going to say our totals K divided by our count box number K. So always the total divided by the number of items that you have, and then I'm going to display already out dot lines dot add arrow names box number K plus, let's make a space, plus float to string F, R average, comma FF fixed, 8,1 because we want one decimal place, and that should do it. We will see now when we run the program if I've made any mistakes, and then we can fix them. Okay, so we use the floater string f formatting with 4 parameters for that function, using R average after we calculated for each box number. Remember that AR total, AR names, and AR count are now all parallel arrays. We've noted that by using them inside this for loop, nested for loop. So let's see. Okay, errors. What have I done? Oh yes, brackets missing. Another error. Oh, SN. SN is a string which I never declared. In fact, I would declare this name. Oh no, we'll leave S name. Leave it. Next error. AR totals. Ah, there it is. Okay, next error. Totals. Probably AR totals again. Right, I'm going to click all the buttons. It's for fun. Random, reset, seating plan, average marks for each learner. And there it is. They're all done. Okay. We'll see you some other time.